So coming off the previous chapter, we saw Gojo hitting Sukuna with a black flash, possibly knocking him out, but that seemed to cause Mahoraga to be summoned. And at this point, Mahoraga, in theory, is completely adapted to Limitless, Gojo's curse technique, and he just slashes Gojo across the chest. And that brings us into the beginning of this chapter, where we see Jujutsu High continuing to watch the match, and Shoko notices that Gojo's healing speed is getting slow, but he can still use reverse curse technique, which is like the healing ability, since he's able to use red, that blasting move, because positive curse energy is required for both of those techniques, meaning that Gojo can still create positive cursed energy, but it's just getting slower. And that's understandable. He's been fighting Sukuna for a very long time. And let us not forget that before all this Mahoraga stuff, Gojo and Sukuna used like 5 domain expansions back to back. And we also found out about the damage that is being done to their brains as well. Not to mention that a bunch of these chapters have had cliffhangers where Gojo is like bleeding from the mouth or something indicating that he is reaching his limit. And yeah, he's certainly getting to that point more than ever now, because not only is his healing slowing down, but we're going to see later on that his overall power output is slowing down as well. But Gojo just goes straight at Mahoraga and punches him in the face. It's just funny to me for some reason seeing Mahoraga just getting punched in the face. And then he like combos with this like double palm strike, it looks like a Hadouken type motion to Mahoraga's solar plexus. That gets a big reaction out of him. And now that Gojo has established the distance with Mahoraga, he tries to hit him with a curse technique reversal red, hoping to take him out with just one big blast before he can adapt to it. That's essentially how you have to take down Mahoraga. And we're also going to find out that despite Gojo hitting Sukuna with red in the previous chapter, like when he tricked him and hit him in the back with it, Mahoraga has still not adapted to red. So it's still an option to just completely take him out. And that's one of Gojo's few options left at this point. But before he's able to fire this off against Mahoraga, Sukuna saves him with a rabbit escape, another Shikigami summon of the 10 Shadows. We've seen Megumi use this before, of course. And as Gojo sees this, he aims down at the shadows in the ground that summon them. And that's also, I guess, saving Mahoraga. And Gojo says, seems like Black Flash is effective. And that's interesting because that's the only time in this chapter that Black Flash is mentioned, despite it being like the big moment in the previous chapter. And yes, it is very effective. Just one Black Flash from Gojo kind of knocked Sukuna out. I mean, it's debatable if he was completely KO'd or if he was kind of just chilling or if he just used that as an opportunity to summon Mahoraga against Gojo, like a counter almost. I mean, he definitely got hurt by it. But considering that he's saving Mahoraga here, or attempting to save him with the rabbit escape, Sukuna came back to consciousness anyway. And also in my previous review, I said that Black Flash had like a 2.5 times multiplier to the damage done, and I was actually incorrect about that. Sorry guys, it's actually to the power of 2.5. So yeah, way bigger output of damage here, which is completely understandable considering how devastating it was. And like I said, this is the only time it's being mentioned here, but I think Gege put that in there because the Black Flash is going to come back for sure. And that's because Gojo is for sure going to use the Black Flash again, or at least I think he is. I mean, he kind of has to. And I do think Black Flash is also going to be very prevalent in the rest of the series, especially from Yuji. But after Gojo fires this red off, taking out these rabbits, essentially, we see Mahoraga like running and Sukuna coming and teaming up with him. And we essentially find out Sukuna's strategy here. He summoned Mahoraga as like this utility to shut down Limitless for Gojo, because now that he has adapted to it, because we found out in the previous chapter, Mahoraga only needed to have his Dharma Chakra wheel spin 4 times to completely adapt to Limitless. And now that that's happened, it's taken the form of Mahoraga's sword, or Mahoraga himself, I don't know, because we see Mahoraga's sword coming down on Gojo and Gojo's like blocking it, and it's at that point Limitless is being shut off. So I guess that's how Mahoraga has adapted to Limitless. He's become like his own proprietary reverse horn of heaven in a way. the cursed tool that Toji used against Gojo to shut down Limitless. And this is just unbelievable. Like, I know I've said this before, but Mahoraga is just a little too powerful. I mean, he's not broken, like he can be beaten, obviously, and he can be beaten down physically. But the fact that he can just adapt this way and shut down the greatest curse technique ever on paper, I mean, at least just overall. I mean, the way that Sukuna uses the 10 shadows makes it seem like that's the best curse technique, but just Limitless overall, you don't have to really think about it. You could be like a pay to win kid about it. But with Limitless, you don't really have to do too much thinking. Like, you could just be a pay to win kid about it, But with the 10 shadows, you definitely have to think and be strategic and have some skill and knowledge to be able to fully utilize it. Limitless, not so much. You're kind of just God. But anyway, I'm rambling. Sukuna fires off what looks to be a piercing blood at Gojo, but it's not. Sukuna is actually using the water blast ability that the Max Elephant Shikigami from the 10 Shadows uses, but he's using it through his hands, and he's firing it off like a piercing blood would be fired off. Now, Sukuna learned this obviously from seeing piercing blood done through Choso and Noritoshi Kamo, but I'm sure Sukuna saw the piercing blood 1,000 years ago, or at least I assume it was around back then. Could be wrong about that. But it's an awesome strategy because, like we were talking about, Mahoraga now has the ability to shut down Limitless, I guess when he makes contact with Gojo, because as he's making contact with Gojo, that's when Sukuna's piercing water, I guess you could call it, hits Gojo on the arm, but he's able to deflect it. So once again, Sukuna with the big brain strategy here, fully utilizing the 10 shadows and just really looking like the superior sorcerer here. And I'm not saying that Gojo is like a lesser to a great extent, because he's not. Gojo is incredible. On top of just having his inherent talent and everything handed to him in life, he definitely utilizes it as a hard worker would as well. Like, he is almost as skillful as Sukuna, but just not as much. Like, if Sukuna is a 10, I would say Gojo is like a 9. But that's not even everything that's going on here. I would have been satisfied if it was just Sukuna and Mahoraga taking on Gojo, because that's more than enough for Gojo to handle here, of course. And that's something that we've been looking forward to for a while, especially when it was teased a couple chapters ago when we saw Mahoraga come out for the first time, but then Sukuna put him back into the shadows because he wanted him to be fully adapted to Limitless before he had him go full force on Gojo. But now that he's adapted, now we're seeing that double team. But Sukuna takes it one step further and he summons another Shikigami from the 10 Shadows, but it's one we've never seen before. And that's because it's implied, I guess, that he is fusing together New, the owl Shikigami, and Totality, or I'm assuming he's talking about the wolf Shikigami, and he's making Chimera Beast Agito. Now, I don't know if he's literally doing that here. I'm just guessing, because he says New, Totality, and then considering that Agito is named Chimera Beast, Chimera is like a fusion of animals, or at least I think that's what it means, something like that. That's possibly what he could have did here. And this Agito Shikigami is similar to Mahoraga, as to where it has like a humanoid form, as to where the other Shikigamis obviously don't look like this. Like, they resemble animals or whatever. Mahoraga resembles some kind of like demon alien, and Agito is the same way, except I guess female. So now Sukuna has this new crazy amalgamation of a Shikigami with Agito, and he has Mahoraga. So it's 3v1 against Gojo, as he says. And this also makes me wonder, like, how far can this go? If in theory he can fuse together two Shikigamis to make a beast like this, can he just fuse them all together? Can he just fuse all 10 of the Shikigamis together and then make God? That would be too much. But it is possible. But why didn't he do it yet? Like, fuse Mahoraga and Agito together. Is that possible? That would be too broken. Maybe we'll see that happen. I don't know. But we see Agito and Mahoraga going after Gojo. And I don't know what Agito can do. I don't think their abilities are being revealed here. Like, we can kind of see it doing something in this one panel where they're both going after Gojo, but I don't know what it's doing here. Is it like forming something with its hands? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you can see what Agito is doing. I'm sure we're going to see in the next chapter, but Gojo impressively still avoiding these two monster Shikigamis coming at him. But as he's backpedaling, his own shadow that he's projecting on the ground has Sukuna coming out of it, because the 10 shadows, he could just manipulate them. And as Sukuna's coming out of it, he's going to fire off a piercing water at Gojo. What an amazing sequence here. Like, when this comes out in the anime in like 4 years, man, this is just going to be the peak of peak. Maybe 5 years. Don't hold your breath. But that's still not enough. Gojo's able to avoid that and avoid the follow-up strike from Mahoraga and get himself into a position as to where he can avoid Agito's strike and have Agito hit Mahoraga. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here. And as that's happening, Gojo finds himself behind Mahoraga and hits him with a red right in the back. And I guess normally this would have been enough to take him out, but not in this case. Mahoraga takes it. I mean, it hurts him a little, but he survives. And that's because Gojo's output is weakening. That's all there is to it. He's just gassing. He's approaching his limit for sure. So it's understandable that he can't just do this like one massive red and just take out somebody on the level of Mahoraga at this point, being so depleted and exhausted. But Gojo also ponders that Mahoraga's adaptation must be gradual. And we still don't have like a full answer on how it completely works, but considering that it keeps being mentioned and talked about, maybe it will be revealed. But the long and the short of it is that Mahoraga will take longer to adapt to red than blue and just base limitless. I guess because it has positive cursed energy involved in it. Because red is like when you apply positive cursed energy to limitless. And then coming into the end of the chapter, after Gojo realizes that he can't take out Mahoraga with a red, he realizes that he only has one shot left. One final move that he can do to completely take out Mahoraga in one shot, so he doesn't have to worry about him anymore. And he says that I have to use it, the unlimited hollow technique. And that's the end of the chapter. So I'm sure our minds immediately go to purple, because that's the title that precedes purple. Hollow technique purple. You know, when blue and red come together, they create purple. The imaginary mass blast, I guess you can call it. You know, I'm sure you've seen season 1 when Gojo fires it off. He's just firing like this no-clip IRL eraser tool at reality. I guess that's the way you can describe it. And I don't know if that's what he's going to do here. I mean, he fired off a purple at Sukuna in the very beginning of the fight, but he obviously hasn't used it since then. So I'm not entirely sure if he is talking about purple here, because why wouldn't he just say purple? You know, they're keeping it ambiguous. He's like, I have to use it. And then he says the unlimited hollow technique. So maybe it's not purple, because also the way that hollow technique purple is presented, it makes it seem like there are multiple hollow techniques, not just purple, because it's like hollow technique : purple. So this could finally be coming to what we've been talking about for months now, and it's Gojo's maximum technique, or the maximum technique of limitless, which I'm pretty sure we haven't seen yet. And this might be it. And whatever it is apparently has a charge time where Sukuna will be aware of it. So Gojo really has to do something crazy here to avoid 3 ultra powerful characters all bloodlustedly attacking him to charge up an attack that could in theory wipe out at least 2 of them. So we'll see what happens. Cannot wait to see the next chapter. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments, guys. And if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.